Hello?
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting day, which we've spent maybe another 40, 45 minutes, which we'll focus on certain aspects which are more operational. We go deeper on certain parts. So the morning session was all about inspiration, and with players who are fairly there in their journey, and this second session is more about going deeper, more about understanding the insights. So what we are focused here is on understanding what does it take to scale a business? What does it take to identify an area and an opportunity, and then go after building a product which the customers will buy. I think, and from a panel perspective, we've got company which is looking at the technical skill area. Yeah. We've got Sainzi who's looking and enabling the whole financial ecosystem. Unicoin, which is more on the Bitcoin side, and we'll hear about their journey. I think it's been an interesting journey. And again, Sarthi AI, which, I think for every time in the last 6 months we've heard the AI word, I at least am a millionaire already. So, so let's just start with the concept, right? Just a background of your journey, your startup journey, how you came about identifying what you're doing currently.
Well, I think it's an evolution journey. I mean, what I intended to do when I started versus what I'm doing right now, I mean, it's completely transformed.
Sure.
So when I started, it was more like, I was an analyst, data scientist. So natural progression for me was to start an analytics consulting firm. So that's how I started. And very soon I realized I was too young, apparently, in the market. When I went out in the market, tried talking to people, this is what I can do with your data, I can give you these insights. So people were like, yaar, tu bahut bacha hai. Matlab, you need to, you lack a lot of pedigree, छोटे से मतलब 2-3 साल का experience है. So I think it's better, you start focusing on building products. So I met a nice gentleman. I remember very clearly, I was in Bombay, BKC. So I asked him, ki, you please come and give me some wisdom. So over a cup of coffee. And that's how it started. I mean, he told me, ki, why don't you build products? And I was like, sahi baat hai, matlab product will sell itself. I won't have to do the selling part. So it sounded like a rational thing. And I asked him, ki, okay, tell me, what should I build? So he was like, can you build chatbots? I was like, huh? And it's like, what big deal? I mean, you have to understand human language and generate an action, response. So easy. I mean, 6.5 years later, I'm still solving the same problem. New layer, every time, new discovery. I mean, other technology. First of all, this technology in English, we were trying to think chatbot. And in India, back then, Jio had revolutionized our smartphone penetration and internet penetration. So Indian language internet users were like just mushrooming, booming. So it made a lot of sense for us to build that technology in Indian languages.
Sure.
And which was non-existent back then. So very difficult job. So first we had to invest in building technology. We spent a lot of time, sweat, a lot of things. We went around in the market, local ecosystem, still growing up, early stages. And post that, we realized ki, okay, technology on its own, maybe we are not the right market as a, technology as a selling product. So from technology, it is very important to make an application first. So conversational AI as a technology on its own, it's not going to sell.
Right.
So we need to build an application on top of conversational AI technology that may be of use to a particular enterprise. So usme bhi bahut, we were like, again, very naive first time people, so generally they make a lot of mistakes. So we were like, we know conversational AI, we can solve all the problems in the world. Every company communicate with their customers, we can automate that, be it telecom, healthcare, e-commerce. So again, different journey. Telecom people, I mean, 1.5 years it took me to onboard one customer. Startups die in that period. So learning from that, okay, nahi, telecom mein nahi jana. So then we moved to e-commerce companies. They thought that they are tech companies, so they will build it themselves. So I was like, कि, all the best, do it yourself. Then healthcare mein aaye, legacy system, difficult. And I was not very much keen on BFSI, honestly, because everybody was trying to hit the same piece of pie.
Right.
So I was like, कि नहीं अपन ना different market में जाएंगे, different virgin territory में जाएंगे, जहाँ fight नहीं है, easily capture कर सकते हैं market share. So अभी तक अपन application layer पे ही थे. फिर समझ में आया कि नहीं, application से business का एक और step है. मतलब product तो बना लिया, technology का use करके application you build, on top of application you found some customers and who are ready to pay, because India में क्या है, सबको free pallet चाहिए. तो अर्ली कस्टमर्स का आई एम श्योर कि बहुत लोग स्ट्रगल कर रहे होंगे जो भी अर्ली स्टेज फाउंडर्स हैं,
Right.
कि सबको फ्री पायलट चाहिए होता है. तो उसमें फिर टाइम वेस्ट किया काफ़ी, बट उसमें फ़ायदा क्या हुआ कि मतलब वी गॉट अ सेंस ऑफ नीड, क्योंकि हम लोग बिल्कुल ऐसे ये सोच कर नहीं निकले थे कि यार मतलब लाइक यही बनाना है. हमें था कि बस कंपनी शुरू करनी है, खुद से काम करना है, ये टेक्नोलॉजी आती है, ये स्किल अपने पास, हाउ डू आई यूज दैट स्किल और दिस एबिलिटी and monetize it.
Yeah, and you keep trying and
Yes,
in that
yes,
iterative manner.
Yes.
Okay.
And then उसके बाद वो then we learned कि what is go to market. मतलब when you build the application, you take a feedback and then you zero upon कि okay, I tried this, but this is where I get more traction. So you double down.
Right.
And that's how I started, and today this is what we are.
Sure. Okay. Great. Absolutely. So let me come to you, Pratik. With you, it's slightly different, right? You already did the startup game. You exited. How did you arrive at your problem identification the second time around? What was the thought, really?
So, I think this is working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first time I started a startup fresh out of college, had no idea how startup is going to work, and what is the definition. So I came to know about what is venture capitalist when I started up. That there is something called as venture capitalist. You can raise money also. So graduated from IIT Kanpur and then started it. It was at that point of time India's first broker-free platform to connect owner with potential renters. I thought that this is the problem we're solving. Raise capital from all the big investors, not just in India but across the globe. Exited, sold it to Quaker, then stayed with Quaker, worked in real estate for some more time. But I think one thing which changed, one thing which I knew right from the starting while I was in college is that I always want to build something in education for the rest of my life, whenever I'll be done with real estate. And the seed of that actually was, it was basically seeded when I was in college. I did my internship in Teach for India.
Okay.
And so over there, I saw that there is a huge impact possibility that can be created because there's a lot of potential in our country, which is up for unlocking. If people with right intent are going to basically work towards it, it can be solved.
Right.
And then while I was when I was done with real estate, then I took a trip for 7 days to Tanzania, but end up spending over a month over there. With Masai Mara tribe, which is considered to be the strongest tribe of Africa. And the reason for that is very simple. They don't believe in formal education at all. What they believe is they have their own Masai Mara run schools for each and every skill set. And they train people right from their childhood. And they believe in skills over degrees. So I thought that this is the problem we're solving, because in India, we are on the verge where if we'll not solve the unemployment problem, we are going to be headed towards civil war. Because this is where it is. The education institutes are are majorly a degree-making machine or degree-producing graduates, but they are not employed. So they are not employable. So I thought this is the problem we're solving, and that's when I came back to India and started this.
Sure.
But one interesting thing was when I was starting up for the second time, I never realized how big a problem I'm trying to basically solving or thinking about solving, because what Masai believes in is we are India's largest outcome-based education institute. We don't charge any upfront fees from our students. Once the student graduate and start earning about 5 lakhs per annum, then only they pay us fees. So we thought that we'll take people, we'll train them. It is not going to be that difficult. But when we realized that in our first batch itself, that people from computer science background, those who have done engineering, but they have never used laptop in their life, and they still are computer science engineers. So that's when we realized that this is a big problem that we have taken in our hands, and I think that's the
Yeah.
journey.
No, interesting, so something, I think which he's passionate about, and now second time around building a business, core technology, which we feel, that is our core skill, and how do you pivot around that, multiple iterations, and then trying to see and then saying, okay, what is the right go-to-market, right, to monetize?
Workforce.
Yes, absolutely. So what about you? What about Unicoin? What's the story behind choosing this area, your journey?
Sure. So before starting UnoCoin, I had a business where we were offering custom scripting services in a virtual world called Second Life. Okay, so it is like the metaverse that we talk now, but it's like the old school method. And we earn money through a closed loop currency called Indian dollars. And I had to use a service called PayPal to get that money back to India. So they used to charge about 3.9% as transaction fees and another 3% as conversion fees. So losing 7% of 7% of the money month on month for 4 years is what made me look at the alternatives. So that pretty much made me stumble upon Bitcoin as an alternative. But instead of using that, I thought that's also a business opportunity to provide for Indians. At that time, we didn't have a platform at that point of time. But we actually have faced our own struggles, at least for first 4 years or so. So we started UnoCoin in 2013. Apart from maybe a few thousands of people, almost no one in India has heard of it. We got initial set of customers easily, but then it was very tough. Like we had to go represent in any kind of conferences, and wherever we talk, people say that, okay, this guy is trying to say something about scammy in nature, right? So it is not like today, where today people don't mind investing, they don't mind getting scammed also. Okay, but at that time, people were actually really, really cautious to actually spend even a little bit of money. I think money had much more value at that time, I guess, so maybe about 10 years ago or so. So yeah, but eventually we started explaining what it is. It took about 2016 up until 2016, where people slowly started hearing about us. We did not have much of competition at that point in time. And 2017, which is one of the really good year for the crypto industry, helped us through the media and the exposure that we got, made us kind of being successful than what we thought we were before. We didn't start UnoCoin thinking that it would be like a startup. I actually come from a very traditional background. My father and grandfather used to sell edible oil, right? So with the first few months, we just said, okay, we are earning 1.5 lakh rupees and 4 engineers of 8,000 rupees as salaries. It's like I'm saving 60,000. It was like super happy with it, that kind of thing. And that was the time when our present first investor, whoever invested in our company, when he wrote to us, we said, we are not looking for investment. Right, so we have actually turned it back, and it took some time for us to understand that we need money for marketing and scalability, growth, security. I mean, all of those ideas come a little later. It was my lawyer who thought that after you take investment, your investment get diluted. I mean, your equity gets diluted. So it is pretty much that kind of situation. So I come from a tier 2 city, so almost no exposure. I didn't know something called IIT existed, so I went to the best engineering school. And with limited exposure, yeah, that was a mindset. But after starting our office in Bangalore as well in 2014, I think we can continue to have a fruitful journey so far.
So, so I'll have a follow-up for you, and let me ask it as a layman. Why, as a layman, if I'm investing in Bitcoin or through UnoCoin, what's the rationale? What's the logic? I can take that dollar, invest it in the stock market, invest it in bonds, securities.
Sure. See, all of the other asset classes you're talking about have existed since decades and centuries, right? So this cryptocurrency, especially like Bitcoin and Ether, which I love the most, is bringing something very new to the table. It is fast and free transactions from anywhere to anywhere in the world. For example, you can use WhatsApp. The efforts to send the message to the person next door is exactly same as the efforts to send the message across the world, right? It is just a send button. But that is not exactly same when it comes to payment. But we still, all of us agree that even when you do the payment, all that is happening is exchange of information between your mobile phone and servers. So this is exactly where the gap is getting filled. So we all believe that this probably is the mode of payment across the world. We were not sure about India. India has a little bit different rules and regulations. But across the world, this is a system that will be successful in the future. And we are just taking the bets by investing into it.
Okay. Yeah. So interesting, and I'll keep coming back to you. So financial services, right? So if you look at one sector in the country which, on an ongoing basis is always underpenetrated, it's financial services, right? I don't know whether it's about the efficiency of the financial services system or the inefficiency, but then is a strong ecosystem, right, which has built around them. So many fintech players, the fintech players needing another support. So how Signsy came about, what's been your journey, where are you today?
Thank you, Hitesh. First of all, I hope I'm audible. And while listening to everyone, I just started feeling nostalgic about the journey that we had. And I can completely relate from our other STEAM panelists. Just to answer this one more precisely, I think the question answered itself. So we started ourselves around 2015-16. And around 16, if you see India, correct? India has started seeing great penetration of e-commerce, hyper grocery deliveries. There's a lot of hyper local services like Uber, Ola were there. The problem is this new generation and even the generation which is prior to that started feeling that if I can get a Uber right away, if I can get a physical product from Amazon or from Flipkart right away, why can't I get the financial product in the real time? So we have just understood a problem statement in a very simple format. If I'm ordering something from Amazon, it is a physical product. For example, it's a shoe. I'm ordering a physical product which is lying in an inventory or warehouse. The whole experience for me onboarding and getting that product is very digital. But I'm getting a fulfilled product which is physical, which is arriving in a physical mode, but the experience is truly seamless. However, if you're going to see the financial product, as end consumer, I'm consuming a digital product. Your accounts is not a tangible, correct? It's a piece written that you have this amount of money. Or the debit card, credit card, anything, correct? But to get that digital product, the journey is too physical.
Right.
You need to fill out 20-page forms, and I'm talking about 15, 16. To open a current account, when I started my first startup, it took me 1.5 months just to persuade him that for opening a MCA-based company, if a Marusi-based company, you need not to have a guarantor. And believe me, after 2 months, I got my account open. So these are fundamental problems that we've seen in India, and we thought that let's build something which could be an Amazon for India in regulatory space, and let's distribute financial product. Obviously, there's multiple reasons why the experience was broken, because there's a regulation. But nobody was thinking how to solve the regulation in such a way that you can distribute the assets or liability products in real time. That's what we've done, and we started our journey for opening a current account. So any startup who wants to open a current account, a proprietor wants to open a current account, earlier they used to do via bank, a leading bank with whom we started working is ICICI. It used to take almost 25-30 days. Using our digital onboarding implementation, we reduced that to less than 1 day. And we were almost mesmerized. Okay, it seems like we've solved something. So yeah, that's the sort of a, I would say, backdrop story. We thought that India is ready to accept everything in real time or almost on real time. Hence, financial services should also come into the same segment. So that's the sort of a vision that we had.
Sure. Yeah. No. So lovely. I think we've got 2 of these companies which are looking at. I think if I would put it this way, transaction cost. Right. I need to enhance experience, reduce the TAT, improve reduce the transaction cost.
Yeah.
So efficiency is the goal. Skill gap is a huge area. We face that on a daily basis. So the opportunity is unquestioned. Yes, investments, new ways to invest, plow on money, return on capital, for everyone, not just for HNIs. How do you build a business model out of this, right? How do you make money? I understand the benefit which the customer is getting, and many times, when I go and talk to a banker, that's a painful conversation, right? Which involves first the business head who owns the money, then the technology guy who says, how will your system talk to me? You know, and likewise, I think, you know, it could be a consumer, right? When you're convincing the consumer, you know, he would always correlate it with what his understanding is in the ecosystem. Now, with these hurdles, you know, and I'll leave this open, please feel free, come in. How do you really build a business model which enables you to make money?
I think it's very, I mean, we didn't, see, I might not be the right example, you know, to say, because I'm a complete brute force. I just wanted to do something and I just ended up doing. So I had like, I built some product and which I compared it with the erstwhile cost. If they didn't use me, how much they are spending. If they use me, how much they are spending. So first of all, that comparison was very important to understand. And the beauty in the ecosystem later on, I mean, last 3-4 years when I started getting that traction, customers, so they themselves helped me. Even today, a lot of my customers tell me, "आपको बेचना नहीं आता, आप इससे महंगे में बेच सकते हो." So they give me feedback. Why don't you do a success-based outcome? Why don't you do a, you know, like a platform-based pricing, so and so. So listening to customers is very important. Taking their feedback, how comfortable they are, you know, like what are the levers, what are the pull where which you can pull, and still they are not, you know, like at any discomfort. Because ultimately, definitely, cost is one factor,
Right.
you know, like that they will always look at. But the business where we are in, you know, it's like a customer experience.
Right.
You are directly talking to the customer of enterprise. So customer experience, how you are ensuring. One luck I would say with us was that, you know, humans may have a bad day, but systems or AI, they can't.
Right.
As a system, voice AI system, or a conversational AI system, it can only speak something that you program it to speak, right? And this way we were giving a unified experience, and suddenly COVID happened. So that completely changed the game, because call centers were you know, like shut, and business continuity was hampered, and people still wanted to recover their money, and they had no way. And at the right time, I was with the right product, just in the market. It just happened for me. And the customers only suggested, I mean, I remember, I won't take the name, but it was a enterprise customer, first customer actually. When I told him, he was a colleague from X company where I was working. So मैंने उसको बोला कि यार ये देख, something like a collection AI agent मैंने बनाया, WhatsApp पे भेजा उसको कि तेरे काम की चीज़ है, you are in a fintech, so lending तो करा ही होगा, collection कैसे करता है? तो बोला कि अभी तो बंद है. तो मैंने कहा कि ये देख, try कर, if it is working for you, you can you know, like use it. Immediately he sent it to his operations guy, और मुझे कॉल आता है, और 3 घंटे में मतलब वो डील भी हो गई. टेलीकॉम का करने में जो 1.5 साल लगा मुझे, फिनटेक करने में 3 घंटे लगे.
Right.
So that kind of just gave me a lot of confidence.
Right.
कि this is the market to tap. मतलब their propensity to buy, tech savviness. You know, you need to know who to sell.
Yeah. No, I think very interesting. You know, keep your ear to the ground, listen to the customers. You know, at the back end, also have a nimble team, right, which is responding to what the customer.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think largely when you are building the company, right, it is obviously founding team members or the early team members, you rely on them for a lot of things. But ultimately, जो है ना, last leg में founders को जाके ही establish करना
Yeah,
पड़ता
yeah.
है.
And get your early wins in. Don't worry.
हाँ.
Even if you get 80% of the value, that's fine.
हाँ.
You know, I think.
Yeah, I think you know, like we knew कि we were overspending. हमारा जितना cost था, जितना हम खर्च कर रहे थे, उससे कम पैसे बना रहे थे. But we knew कि once people start adopting it, once people start trusting the technology,
Right.
we will reap the benefits, which eventually happened.
Right. No, absolutely. And how about you guys? Any view?
When it comes to UnoCoin, I think, see, the business model was very simple. When you buy and sell Bitcoin with us, you pay some transaction fees. That people really easily understood, right? So they have to pay 2%, 3%, whatever we're charging at that time. But the biggest question they had was, after they buy Bitcoin, where is their Bitcoin, right? So we used to spend more money in explaining how it works. And there are people who said that, when are you sending it to my home? To that extent, right? So, I mean, Today it could sound funny, but think about 10 years, 10 years before, it was very, very complicated. People used to get some kind of recommendation from their friends who are little tech savvy or investment savvy and such. Okay, do one thing, you have 10,000 rupees, go and buy Bitcoin. Okay, then now they got Bitcoin. Now where is the Bitcoin? Is the biggest thing, right? So it actually needed lot of efforts to earn that trustworthiness. Okay. So, but let's say when it comes to a bank, the way they would have operated is they would have taken fixed deposits and savings bank account balances and current bank account balances on one side. On the other side, they would have given it as loan, right? So there will be some difference that they hold it as a float for doing the day-to-day transactions. But when it comes to the platform like us, we actually hold all the assets of every customer ourselves. We don't lend it. We don't give it anywhere, we don't invest, etc. Right? So essentially people are trusting with a asset which is continuously appreciating on an average. So the cheapest Bitcoin we have sold was like for 11,000 rupees and the costliest one we have sold was for 55 lakhs. So we literally have seen that 500 times increase between 2013 to 2021, right? So people we had to trust with that. And do the transactions, and at the end of the day, even though the Bitcoin price went up, people's ability to buy was in rupees only. It was not in terms of Bitcoin, right? So 10,000 rupees will only buy 10,000 rupees worth of Bitcoin, irrespective of how much ever they get and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think the model was simpler, but making people to understand why they are paying the fees was comparatively tougher for us to make them understand. I think.
So this is actually the same point which in the morning the Chai Point founder was making, saying, Chai to sab peete hai. It's a category which is established. If I do things, remove inefficiency, be consistent in quality, that's a huge opportunity. For him, it's a new category altogether, right? So it requires a huge change from a mindset perspective. Likewise, for you, I think your customers are sitting right here, right? That's the problem you've identified. How do you decide that, okay, this is, one is that you've identified the problem, but this is the shape and structure of my product to solve this problem, right? Whether it's 200 hours of coding or, how do you do that? What is the right way to decide and design a product?
So I think I think the best way to build or disrupt in any particular space is like people, those who are not from that space, gets an added advantage to basically disrupt because they don't have biases. They don't have any preconceived notion around that particular space. I think that has worked out really well for us till now. We are not from academics background, like we are not teachers, but we know what is needed as a programmer when you are going to basically work in the industry. And that is something which if we'll basically reverse engineer that, there is a curriculum which can be created.
Right.
And it's very interesting, like very recently when NSDC and everyone was involved and when they were looking at our curriculum, people call us that you probably have 50 research papers sitting over here, right? Like right in front of you because of the kind of innovation that you have done in each and every aspect. Like for example, very, very simple things. One fundamental challenge with our education system is that if I score, let's say 50% in 7th standard, then also I move to the 8th standard. If I score 80%, then also I move to the 8th standard. The problem is that if I scored 50%, I don't have the knowledge of other 50% of the things. Everyone learns at their own speed. I think this is a fundamental mistake which we compartmentalize people and we just move them from one grade to another grade.
Right.
And what we did over there with the first principle approach is that we came up with a concept of mastery-based progression. So we divided the entire course curriculum into that level of nitty-gritties that you need to master each and everything to move forward. If you're not moving, like if you're not able to basically demonstrate your mastery, you don't move forward. Similarly, like the classes that happens in Masai, we follow something called as I do, we do, and you do, which is a very fundamentally, that's how I want to teach anyone. Because first, if I am an instructor, I want to show them that what is the power of this technology. Then we both collectively solve it together. That's we do. And then you do means that you basically reinforce that learning and explain it to me that what have you learned and how are you going to basically explain that. And these are like minor things that we have built over a period of time, which actually made our product, which is our students, really superior. and can basically be part of any organizations and can be a like super important addition into the tech ecosystem.
So as people who are running teams,
Yeah.
you know, that experience came handy, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about industry academia collaboration, but this is industry, right?
Yes.
You are working for the industry, you worked, you saw the problems, and you saw that what the gap is,
Yeah.
and that's how you iterated.
Correct. So all our instructors are from the industry. So
Right.
that's
Yeah,
how
and
it is.
just one, you know,
I think
how's about that model which you constructed on the students start paying you when they start earning? How did that come about?
So that's very interesting because people still, like after raising Series B, people still mistake us that, are you an NGO? Like, how do you make money? Because you don't charge any upfront fees.
Right.
And like, I think like the first round of funding that we have raised was on this dialogue itself. Like what happened was, so it's Unitas Venture. Since they are our investors, I can name them. What happened was that I entered into the room where all the partners were sitting, and I had to pitch, and that was for pre-Series A round. And I asked them that, what is your Wi-Fi password? I want to basically show my presentation. And he said that our password is profit and impact. And I said, see, if you really want to create an impact, change your password, put impact first, and then profit later. It is going to come in. And because of that line itself, they told me that because that came naturally to me, that I want to first focus on creating an impact. Profit will come later. India is a trust deficit society. Everyone told me that people are going to run away. People are going to basically stop picking up your calls. There is going to be huge defaults when they are going to get into jobs. How will you track when they'll move from one job to another job? And till now, we have less than 1% of NPA, like default.
Right.
And we have graduated and placed over 3,500 students. So I think the challenge with the trust deficit society is that you create those rules which punishes which is meant for bad apples and which end up punishing the good apples. What we did is that, let's say if there are going to be 5% of the bad apples, that's okay. We'll bear with it. But why? We don't need to basically create any rules and regulation which is going to punish the 95% of the people.
Right.
And we'll put trust first. And it's a two-way thing. They are going to obviously trust us back, and they are going to basically follow the journey. And that's how it has been. We have not taken we don't take any collateral, we don't do anything.
Yeah.
But we have been able to build a business model out of it. Although I still have to convince everyone that I still need to pitch in that way. We are not NGO. We are profit first organized, we make profits, and we are probably even after 100 crores of revenue, you need to basically do that.
Yeah, no, it's a very big thing you say, because we always focus on that 1%, right? That error rate. We don't focus on the 98, 99%, which is the positive outcome. You wanted to say something.
I just wanted to concur to what you were saying, because back today, AI is everybody know, but back in 2015, I think Upgrad was just launched. And I had quit my job. 2 years, 4 jobs. I was like, okay, enough. What I wanted to do something, applied research, I could not do it. And back then, there was not system available on the curriculum piece which I was explaining. I just wanted to add to that. I started teaching machine learning and data science as an instructor. So that's how it started. So I quit my job. And back then it was a very highly sought after skill. Not many people knew.
Right.
And fortunately, I had this skill. And then my ex-employer, Fractal, they kind of asked me, the same day I quit my last job, he said, these guys knew somehow. So they said, can you teach our people data science, machine learning? I was like, kitne paise milenge? So he was like, theek hai, we'll come and talk to that. So per hour, some good amount.
Right. Right.
So I got and I started building, and Upgrad was just launched. So then these guys, reached out to me. We are trying to build a maiden course, postgraduate diploma in business analytics. So we want somebody to build a curriculum. So the same question went through my mind also. How do you teach them? Because there are people who are from commerce background also. उनको अब programming सिखानी है. और वो 15 साल से जो है, they are just using Excel. So how do you transfer them from Excel to Python?
Right.
And having 20 years of baggage, कि Excel पे ही सब कुछ हो सकता है. So I think their content was very, very important to identify, and knowing कि, breaking it down such a simple I do, we do and you do example perfectly, like summed up. Because पहले करके खुद दिखाओ कि this is how you do it. Because आप कोर्स में ना आप मास्टर नहीं बना सकते किसी को एक हफ्ते के कोर्स में एक महीने के कोर्स में आप उसको परफेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. But you can definitely teach them how to learn.
Correct.
If you teach them how to learn, it's very easy. You give them a basic intermediate level ka jankari, information, and let them, find their way.
Correct.
Ki, the first thing I used to say, when I used to, as an instructor, I used to take the class, कि किसने इंटरनेट का नाम सुना है? Everybody used to say hi. मैंने कहा किसने गूगल का नाम सुना है? Everybody used to say. मैंने कहा कि आज से गूगल तुम्हारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त है. Just Google it.
Right.
Any questions you have, just JGIT. And then you teach it, and then let them come back, give them some problems, which you were saying perfectly. I mean, that's the problem with our our education curriculum these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to you, so eKYC onboarding, what's the next challenge? How do you decide? It's in the same domain, the same journey, same functional area. I'm sure the same problem, say for example, today, large corporates would also be facing. I've got distributors lined up, and I have that manual process running, and I'm trying to verify them or give them credit limits. Likewise for suppliers.
I think that's a great question, I would say. So as a company, I think we've evolved. Started in 16. Currently, we've raised decent amount of funds. We are currently working globally, wherein we are solving problem of onboarding, underwriting individuals and businesses. The major exposure of us is majorly on the retail side of it because that's where volume is lying in India. But if you'll ask me personally, I'm very bullish about the way India is growing on the asset side now. Just to take few examples, the way we have recently seen the account aggregator, and I might be using some jargon, please pardon me for that. But I believe India on the asset side, distribution of asset side, is a major problem that we are solving now. So as a company, our initial 8 years were majorly solving for liabilities for major banks, major institutions. And last 2 years is majorly trying to understand how we can solve the problem of asset onboarding and underwriting and distribution and collection, which I think Vishwanath can talk about major on the majority side. I think we as a company thought through that, how should we re-innovate it? Everyone is trying to do lending now. Every company, correct? Irrespective of what they do. Do they exactly know how they do it? And I'm not sure, but what we felt that doing a lending is not a problem of underwriting, it's a problem of collection. And how are you going to collect? And but before collection, let's understand, are we doing our bit in a right way? Just to give an example, I was sitting with a banker last week, and they've been, and obviously we are being fintech, so we need to give that thought leadership that what is happening and what could happen, and what is a new disruption model. So as a company, since we've, as I mentioned earlier, we've done the KYC, everything. So I've answered him saying that, and the question was very simple, that, hey, Paritosh, I want to underwrite somebody who don't have a GSTN. Everyone is there out there selling, I can underwrite a business using GSTN data, bank statement analysis, and so on and so forth. But there's a huge amount of population in India, there are women entrepreneurs, micro entrepreneurs, they're not even to get an asset product from us because there's no GSTN that they have. So I very frankly told him the reality. I said that we need to change the way, and I think what Pratik has said, I think if I'm sitting right now in this room, if I'm not learning, then I'm never going to disrupt something. Because there's a cognitive bias that you have as an individual, as an entrepreneur. And believe me, that might be a strength initially, but it may become your weakness in times to come. So I just answered them that there's a multiple way to do it. And he did ask, tell me, I'm a banker, I know everything. I said, I think let's take an example. If I need to buy a pair of sari for my mom, what I'm going to do? There's a two options. I can go online or I can go physically. So I'm going to do a shop nearby me, buy a sari nearby me. I'm going to go to a shop. It might be a small shop, and they may not be eligible for GST limit, which is 20-40 lakhs. But I know if that shop is in Koramangala, they might be paying some sort of a commercial rent. So there's a PIN code attached to it. I'm pretty sure that if that woman or that person, it might be at age of 60, 70, they might have a kid who might have set up that shop on the Google or Facebook or some pages. So And obviously, you can underwrite it because they are saying what they are saying, correct? They are selling the same thing what they are telling us. Because a lot of time, when you underwrite, you don't know, are they going to repay back to us? So I told them that we are not using classification platforms like Just Dial, Google, Facebook pages to underwrite at how many likes they have, how many distribution of the product that they have done. And the third thing is how you can integrate with your cash flow systems. So a lot of companies nowadays, which are still struggling, which have digitized their ledger from physical ledger to a digital ledger, not able to underwrite customers. But I firmly believe that they are not looking at the ecosystem in a right way. So what I told them that account aggregator can just solve for one thing, which is a bank account. They might have a bank account. We can get that one data. But there's a lot of alternative data. For example, using your phone number, I can tell you which car you own, how often you sold your cars, which sort of insurance that you're owning right now, which PIN code you might be living. And obviously, all these data might be coming from a consented and a public databases. Right. If I take a consent while I'm underwriting you, I do have authority to take alternative data. Right. And I can just triangulate the data, triangulate that data with account aggregator data points, which is basically a rail of data sharing, and taking the cash flow data. So if I can triangulate cash flow, account aggregator, and alternative, I'm going to come with a great propensity of scores, wherein I can underwrite ability to pay and intent to pay. Right. As soon as I'm going to do that, can you believe the penetration of financial assets products in India? Yeah. Everyone is asset hungry here, but nobody wants to underwrite them because they don't want to. They don't see that how you can think in certain way to underwrite a business.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
so that's what we are thinking as a company to build something innovative on the asset side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So with the, I think I can go on, but I'm cognizant that the audience here may have questions. He made a very interesting point, but a lot of data which is already available, irrespective of whether you have a valid license, tax registration number or not. There are companies which can process that data, could be location intelligence, could be structured, unstructured data, overlay it with an account aggregator framework, which is actually making it easy, giving you the consent and you can push your information, make it available. And on the asset side, that becomes very, very simple to design products. Today, many of the fintechs are doing daily settlements, right? And that's all because of the cash flow focus they've taken. So I think your biggest concern is the change management on the lending side. So I'll just open it up for some questions. If people have any questions, please.
Hi, Prateek. We have hired people from Masai, really great talent. Thank you for that. And two questions. One is, how do you get your trainers? Usually a good trainer will also find a lot of money in the industry. So how do you manage to get talent? And second is, why wait for someone to complete school? Why not partner with colleges in the final year? You can introduce a course. That will save time, right? Why someone completes 4 years of college and then 9 months with Masai. Yeah.
So interesting questions. The first one being the question about trainers. Fundamentally, I think what I believe in, and I think we as collectively in Masai believe in, is that the reason why our education system is poor is because our teachers are not paid appropriately. So one thing which we knew right from the starting is that if we are bringing in someone who is a senior software engineer, let's say, we should be giving that person at least 100% hike, because that person is not just involved now in programming, but in shaping up the future of people. So first, very important thing is that the teacher salaries need to be very, very different, and you need to pay them what they can't even imagine. Then only you'll be able to basically incentivize to, because there are people those who want to work. The challenge is that why will I work if I don't get paid anything? And that's one of the fundamental things that we did right from the starting. Second important thing is, we knew that any great institution in the world has been created. The reason for that is that they assured outcomes. And that is the reason why IITs, Harvard, or everyone exists. So we knew that we need to fundamentally prove that model, which we have done. after placing so many students with graduates, those who are unemployed right now. But once we'll prove that model, I think we'll be in a commanding position to go to the colleges and tell them that let's start working on these students right when they are in second year or third year of their college, so that by the time they graduate, they are going to be ready for industry. And that is what we have started doing. We have launched courses now in collaboration with colleges, and we are working with students right when they are in second year or third year. So we are tackling this, but we have not started with that. Now we are doing it because now we have proved that we can train anyone.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my name is Tarkeshwar. I'm co-founder of Agri FinTech called Dwara Registry. My question is how you manage the retaining your talent. So
Retaining your talent.
not your talent means workforce talent.
Yes, yes.
the manpower.
Yes, yes. I think it's very.
I have that. Is it through compensation or do you propose the ESOPs? How do you manage both of the things to retain the best talent?
I think I've been very fortunate in that sense. So, mind-blowing team, all thanks to my team, whatever I'm here, I'm sitting on behalf of them. So, and largely because you have to walk the talk, only simple. And it's not that, like it's not one-man show. It's a team game. So people, whoever you are onboarding, it's very important to have them at the same frequency. If they are not at the same frequency, there will be no harmony, there will be dissonance. Okay, it's very important to have harmony in your team. People, you should be so generous, not just in terms of ESOPs, compensation, respect, trust. What I was able to do was to, trust them to deliver things, give them autonomy, let them fail, learn from their mistakes. That's part of the job. You can't say that, galti kyun karti? If they make mistakes and you want them not to make mistakes, then you are, it's apne pair pe kulhari maar rahe hain. Because if you are not allowing them to make mistakes, they will stop trying new things. So, if you are building a team, core team, it's very important that everybody is equally, they share that vision, shared vision. Same level of intensity in everyone. Initially. Obviously, now at this stage, I feel slowly, once we have got to 200, cross that strength, so slowly it kind of has diluted. But still, it is the core members of the team, the founding teams. They have retained the culture. They are doing the decision making autonomously. Because I can't be everywhere. You can't be everywhere. So your team should have that autonomy and the trust कि अगर गलती हुई भी तो you are not just बुरा भला नहीं कह रहे हैं उसको. When you are asking कि क्या गलत हो गया, where did you go wrong, why did you go wrong, try to work with them. It's more like like grooming. Especially, why I'm saying this, because I have been fortunate with working with fresh kids, fresh out of college, train them. They are with me for more than 6 years now. Personally, whatever, along the journey, they have seen lot of share. Many a times people, early days when I was bootstrapped, for a year, nobody took salary. Imagine. Why they were not supposed to go through that share of trouble, but they did. Why? Because they believed in it. And they believed in their future, ki when this thing works, we are all in this together. So having that emotion, I think, is very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So I'm sorry, run out of time. Love to take more questions, but this is an important point you made. I think creating that culture of innovation, removing the fear of failure, because see, when we started, we spoke about rapid experimentation, right? We need to pivot, we need to change, we need to hear the customer. If only one person does that, it will not sustain. If it has to be sustainable, everybody needs to do that. And then the team goes, the challenges are different. Yeah, so I think this is a journey. We tried to cover in these 40-odd minutes, whatever few dimensions. Many of them, I would have loved to get into technology and, the obsolescence part, people more in detail, maybe for another time. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot for having us here. Thank you.